Yeah, I don't live here.
I don't know if that had changed.
I'm here. All
So you might as well.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I will call this is July 18th, Middleton Tourism Commission to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the June 20th meeting minutes. Discussion about those minutes and motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. On to the grant application.
Yeah. Okay, so the very first grant application that we have before us is the Sports Specialist Annual Dealer Show. They've actually been in Middleton for several years, and they actually qualified for the $5,000 level for the first 3 years, and now they are down to the $3,000 level. They bring in, this time, they have about 530 room nights total. Is that still correct? Okay. And they are seeking a destination partnership grant toward marketing this event. They were here in 18, 19. They were actually supposed to be in 2020, but due to the pandemic, canceled, and we're back in 21. If anybody has any questions, we have the application before us, and also I'm sure Jim could actually weigh in a little bit here. It's a great event for us, and it's an annual event for us, and they are actually quite easy to work with, which so. And in years past, it was actually a little bit larger. I feel like they might have had. Okay, they gave the 22 numbers. I feel like pre-pandemic, I saw like 700-ish, maybe, for at least for attendance.
Probably in attendance.
Because they do open it to the public.
Yeah,
there's a public component to
they're
this.
very nice with them.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions, otherwise I'll open it up to a motion to accept their application for $3,000 for marketing and promotion with the regular criteria of happy to have it in Middleton and the room block and all of that we normally include.
Like motion to approve $3,000.
And
All those things contingent.
to all those things. And do we have a second, or do we have any discussion? If I come over, I'll second. Okay. Again, any discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're good. I will reach out to them. This is this fall. Yep, this will be this September. They submitted this application far in advance. We had to bump them twice due to quorum. And so they were well within the deadline that we asked for 3 months in advance. So I told them that would not be held against them in any way, since it was on us that we couldn't make quorum. And Kate, do you need to step out?
That's it? That's all you need?
That was the only one where, because with Jose, Kevin, Todd, and Jim, we will still have quorum for the rest of the agenda. But
Yeah.
Jim can't vote on anything that has to do with the Marriott. So
Okay, we're good.
we're good.
I am gonna speak out.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck on tomorrow's event.
Yeah.
And then I look forward to it.
Everybody's gonna be held back out of summer.
Enjoy.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, we can continue with our agenda for Stroll and Jazz, and we have Jolyn here with the Art Look Lab to answer any questions that you might have. And Jim can take.
So the Stroll Middleton Jazz, I'm looking for a total of $5,000, $3,000 towards artist fees and musicians, $2,000 towards the marketing plan. This mirrors what was granted to the event last year in 2022. The application's inside here. Do you have any questions for Jolene about the event?
The event format has changed. For those of you who are new, last year the event was pretty much an all-day jazz festival at Stonehorse Green, and this year they're back to the strolling format. So they'll choose, I don't know, 3 or more locations in the downtown area to have live music.
What's that?
And Stonehorse Green will be one of them toward the end of the evening, and they're also going to have like kiddie events during the day or the afternoon. And there's no room block for this. They will be marketing. So like their goal is to have people outside Dane County, but that is pretty much their target audience. Last year when I know Kevin was here for this, last year when we had the conversation of whether or not to support it, we were looking at trying to establish a fall annual event in downtown Middleton, and that was part of the reason for it. And it's two separate grants, destination partnership and tourism marketing. And again, Jolynn is here to answer any questions about how this year might look.
Which one's from which, what dollar?
So the 2,000 toward marketing would be the tourism marketing and development grant, 3,000 toward event, artist fees would be destination partnership.
Any issues with that? We're trying to decide.
Yeah, this would be year 2. Obviously, this event existed before. It's had many different formats, many different lives. And so this year with ArtLit Lab owning it, because last year it was a partnership between Stonehorse Green's event coordinator and ArtLit Lab. And this year ArtLit Lab is owning it, but Abby did tell me that they hope that Stonehorse Green, once they get an event coordinator, will be able to assist in promoting it and that kind of thing too.
So I have a question. Do we know what kind of impact last year event had on, businesses around downtown?
I don't know what the business impact was, Jose. Last year, this event kept getting pushed back. So this was in tandem with the opening of Stonehorse Green in October, and it was a very cold day. I have to give it to the performers for toughing it out. I was there for the morning, and then I hired a photographer actually to cover the rest of the afternoon. This was the week I had COVID, so we hired out. He didn't report that there were that many people, but he said that the people who were there were like in it to win it, were his words. He said these people came here specifically for this event. He talked to several people who were from out of town. Now, whether or not they stayed in hotels or friends, I don't know. But he said that it definitely drew people who were specifically interested in the headliner for jazz music. And as we all know, we don't have a lot of diversity in music in Madison, not as much as like other major cities, right? So having a jazz festival here is a nice offering. But he did say that there were people that he spoke with that specifically came here just for that event. So that was really great because it was a cold day. You had to really want to be out there, especially that evening. That evening was cold because I think it was October 10th or something. So it was a Saturday. It was supposed to be September. The only reason it got pushed back was Stonehorse Green. They were still waiting on electrical and plumbing and all sorts of things, and we couldn't launch it when we wanted to. So I wouldn't say that reflects on the talent that they brought in. I would say it reflects on being October in Wisconsin and it was a chilly day. And this time being almost a month earlier, I'm hoping that weather is not going to be a factor.
Was it this Saturday?
That was me not. Yeah, I think the 9th is a Saturday. Yeah, because it's almost an all day event. So what is the 9th? Is the 9th exactly a week after Labor Day? So that will be actually kind of a nice weekend because school starts right after Labor Day. And then a few days later, we have this event. So, anybody else have any questions. They did include a marketing plan on how they want to go about it.
So what's the plan of how to measure it this year to see what kind of impact we're looking at?
So
Is it-
last year they did provide a post-event report as best that they could, considering the event. And this year we would require that again. And that would include a survey of, random survey of people who are attending. Anybody that they hire to perform, it's always that and it's not like a formal survey, they just ask, how was this venue? Did you enjoy working with this organization, etc. And so the post-event report can include all of those things that we generally require. And as far as numbers, that will have to be, it's not like we have a gate we can't click people through. So it's going to be an honor system probably of people reporting what they think is attending. And then we can ask them also to have somebody designated to reach out to some of the local businesses around Stonehorse Green, if you guys would like, and just report out, did you see an uptick in business this Saturday? And I don't have a schedule yet. We just know that there will be things going on kind of throughout the afternoon, evening. Jolyn, do we know what the headliner is going to be?
We don't yet, since part of being able to book the headliner will depend on the results of the conversation tonight. But we do have some things in mind, and one of them is actually the possibility of bringing back Dee Alexander, because it was so unfortunate that we had about 32-degree weather for her performance, and so the audience was much smaller than we had expected, and so kind of having an opportunity to hear her again is kind of one of the things on the table, because normally she would have been drawing, far more people than what happened last year. But we've also been talking about some other possible performers coming up from Chicago or other areas of the Midwest.
Okay. Okay, I'll hand it back to Jen. Unless people
Do we have any questions? We have a motion. My thing is, it's not an agenda. It's kind of as our benchmark. But it is a local event. Want to be successful over here, so
Just the whole business growing, right? As a fall jazz festival. Eventually.
I would say
But
that last year is very difficult
Yeah.
to use as a benchmark. This year will be much easier to use as a benchmark. And I would say you have to invest in something 3 years to find out if it's working. Because your first couple of years is just getting the word out so that people know what the expectations are. And I would say that I hope that next year they don't change the format again, because when people don't know what they're expecting, it changes their decision making on whether or not they're going to come. Exactly. So it was going from an all day outdoor like concert in the park to now we're going back to the strolling thing. And so this year we'll have to see how people even react to that. Do they like going from venue to venue? And I'm sure Art Lab will take that into consideration as well. But I do think that we should support them at least one more year to see how it's going to go, because supporting an event never tells you what it's going to be in its first year. There's just no possible way. And they had such a handicap with the weather. It was such a cool day. I'm sure that there were more people, especially in the area, who would have come out. But it was, it was like 32 degrees. I was there in the morning for the ribbon cutting. It was cold. We were standing in the sunshine. It was cold. So, and we do sponsor a lot of events that have nothing to do with room nights. We give $1,000 here or $1,000 there.
$10,000.
Yes.
So how many room nights would it take just for those 10? That's not right. I'm just saying, if we're going to get business of finding local events, and that's one thing, and we can do that. But my understanding, fun, it's pretty nice, you know? And that's not just a hotel experience, it's just, you know.
Yeah. That's what it's always, I've been here, but always not that far.
So. Fun. I just say want to make a motion?
I remember this being a very long conversation last year. as well, so.
Well, I just remember, you know, we got a conversation about the festival here, the neighborhood fest. Is this a function of tourism, right? I don't know, that was a long conversation too, that day, and I was like, where is this grant? Something else. So, that's previously.
That's before my time. I don't remember.
Before my time, too.
Right. You know, this guy could bring 530 minutes and gets the same one money. So, so that's all I'm saying. Not to say not to support it. Apples and apples.
Jolyn, are you guys seeking other sponsorships and grants as well? Did I read that somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. We, the venues who host musicians all contribute some venue support, and also we are going to be reaching out to other local businesses such as, One Community Bank and BMO Harris and some of the folks who supported us in the past. And we're also using quite a bit of other grant funding that we received for jazz programming in Dane County. And we asked for donations from audience members, which wasn't really possible last year because of the extreme cold. And also it was harder to do with how distanced people ended up on the greens, since no one wanted to step on the grass. But coming back to a more normal stroll-in, in the past, we've always received, fairly generous support from just people in the different venues. And I'm sorry, I actually can't hear most people except for Mari because of the conference call. So I'm not sure if there were any other comments that you needed me to respond to.
Well, everybody speak up because I'm the furthest from the mic. They can hear me.
This is the way you're facing.
My voice carries. Can you scroll down to the expense, please? I'm just looking.
Pick up with our branding at all in the marketing materials where we have our logo on anything with this grant.
Jolene, could you hear Jim's question? He was
Right.
just asking, so oftentimes when we give a grant specifically that's about marketing, we require that our logo be listed on, like, anything that stands still where that you would normally put a sponsored logo. Will that be available to us?
Yes, that's what we did. If you look at our banner and our materials from last year, we have the Visit Middleton logo on everything. Or if there's not space for a logo, sometimes it will just list the sponsors, in smaller text, like, for example, in the description of the Facebook event where we can't upload a logo to it. But yeah, we definitely make sure to credit all the people who are supporting the event.
A motion to approve.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. The grant is approved.
Jose, did you aye?
I did.
On to the winter triathlon. This one, Brandon.
Yes. Well, this one's race day events, and we actually. Oh, Jolene, I'll reach out to you with your letter and criteria, and then you can just call me if you have questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. So we have Ryan from Race Day Events here and Brandon from MASC for this next grant request.
right, so it's the first time event to be taking place at the CFC Center. We're estimating about 200 to 250 participants, generating about 100 room nights. Grant request is for 15,000. For marketing and offsetting costs of the CFC Center itself. They've got 3,500 in sponsorship funds currently. Brian or Brandon, is there anything you want to tell us about the event? Or is there any spiel you want to go through here?
Yeah, I can give you just a little bit of an overview. This is kind of a tough one to wrap your head around right off the bat. We've been approached by the national governing body of triathlon, USAT, to bring a winter triathlon since the last Olympics. Winter triathlon has been taking off, and they brought it to us to see what we can do. And you know, at first I thought Madison area, Middleton area was not the best fit for this event because, as we know, winters can be, you know, brown grass to 2 feet of snow given the day. But then I kind of partnered up with Yuri and talked through what he can do and what the possibilities are of the CXC Center, and actually moved this event up to, or this area up to probably the best seated position in Wisconsin. We are looking at an area in Wausau and an area in Green Bay as backup options, but this would be my number one choice here. It's a, as you see, it's a run, a mountain bike, and a cross country ski. And it's, you can see the distances they put there: 5 to 10K run, 10 to 15K mountain bike, and 8 to 12K cross country ski. Working with Yuri, his facility is set up perfectly for this. I know the construction is just starting, but kind of one of the cooler caveats, it could be as early as 2024. We could get the national championships of this event, which would make that a much bigger event. I think you'd start to see in the range of more like 750 to 1,000 people, because you're pulling from all over the nation. The way I put in the proposal here is actually just for what would be the standard winter triathlon now. So, but I think it's a big deal. I think it would draw people from all over the place in general, being USAT is behind it. And if we were to be awarded that USAT national championships, I think we could do something really big. We have in the past, just so you understand what Race Day Events does, in the past, we have produced an age group national championship as well as a para-triathlon national championship. And in 2021, we actually produced the para-triathlon Olympic qualifiers for, it sounds weird, but it was the 2020 Olympics in 2021. And we sent 78 people of the para-triathlon to the Olympics producing a race like that. So working with USAT, I think, could be a big thing for this area.
So out of that 200 to 250 participants, are we expecting those to pretty much be from Dane County?
Of the 200 to 250, I would say more than half of them would be from outside of Dane County, just based on the fact that it's a still nationally supported, you know, USAT is going to do the advertising behind this and bring people around nationally. And I think it'll be, they're going to do it as a part of, I believe it's a 6-race qualifier for the national championship. So it's not, it would be bringing people out from all over the place, plus drawing from our local triathlon crew.
How quickly will they know whether the 2024 event could be here?
From what I understand, it's going to be as early, they're going to do a big thing here July 25th. I think that's next week already, and make decisions on locations for the just the winter triathlons, which part is going to be their series. And then I believe August 18th is when they want to look at announcing where the national championships will be. So I think, I don't want to put pressure on you guys, but I think it does kind of hinge on, can we pull this off with Yuri? And can we guarantee that it's going to be, and I know this has nothing to do with you guys, but can Yuri guarantee it's going to be, you know, a good, clean and quality snow and course? So I think the first step is just seeing what we can do with you guys here to make sure you can cover some of those costs that would be from renting from Yuri, and make sure you can do some good marketing with it, and then take it from there.
And also, it's definitely kind of event and kind of the thought process for me as well as behind CXC, you know, it's a multi-use kind of facility. So I do support that. See, put a lot of money into it, got our name on it. Right? So, I mean, this is exactly what we're looking for. I don't know that, yeah, in that generation that I can personally support the 1,000 at this point, but I don't know if anybody else has other thoughts or could, you know, shoot for a partial or full amount.
Yeah, super.
Well, and Ryan, just to give you a little bit of history too, out of the sports grants, we generally give we figure it's $10 per room night. And so most of the time, largest grant we give is maybe 6,000, 7,000 for, you know, several hundred room night overnight stays during 1 or 2 more days. So
Okay.
$15,000 for us is probably not doable because we're entirely funded by the hotel tax. And so if we give too much and we can't recoup that, then we have less to give the next year.
Sure.
If we're able to host something like nationals and we know it's going to bring in $400 or $500, then definitely come back to us because we can work with it. And there are other things that we can do too.
Okay.
My suggestion would be something in that 5 to 7 range, which is still, I think, generous for only 100 overnight stays, but hopefully it would seed an event that could grow here in Middleton and still offset some of those startup fees.
I would agree. I tend to agree with that. And I think it's an unknown, right? And that's why I guess I have a question of if we were to be awarded money and then if we kind of do our due diligence, research it, put a really good plan together with Erie and then realize that it won't work, they just can't make it financially feasible. Can we return that money without any issues or how does that work?
That would be a qualification, yeah. So when we award a grant, it is contingent on that event actually occurring. And for
Okay.
something like this, we usually award for a sports grant because, especially when we have to move a location, we will give that grant in advance. Otherwise, most of our grants don't come until after the event and the receipts are turned in.
Okay.
And so for this, we could talk a little bit about which way would work better so that accounting isn't, you know, messy.
Mhm.
If you have to have a certain amount of money in advance in order to get an event up, we can talk about that as well. But yes, if an event does not actually occur, 100% of the grant has to be returned to the commission.
Okay.
And that is something as simple as I submit an invoice to you with a letter saying it must be reimbursed and you cut us a check.
Okay. That makes total sense.
I'm encouraged that there are possible side, you know, adjacent effects to that.
Exactly.
Really great.
And that's why I'm saying like the amount that I'm saying, because normally I wouldn't because it's only for overnight stays. But if there's a possibility that this could grow into a bigger thing for us and an annual thing for us, then I'm not opposed to taking a gamble on a larger grant.
No, especially if you try January after this, yeah.
And once they come to Middleton, they'll love it and they'll want to bring their friends. So,
Absolutely. And being up there all the weeks, yeah.
so
For the motion?
Yeah.
You wanna make a motion?
and you're allowed to make a motion too, Jim.
I will make a motion to approve $7,000 grant fund for the event.
A second.
All those in favor?
Oh, we have to open to discussion.
Oh.
Any discussion? Not. Votes in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Ryan, I'll follow up with you either tomorrow or Monday. I'm up Thursday and Friday, so I'm not ignoring you if you email me. I'm just out.
No worries. I appreciate, guys. I didn't hear the amount though. I'm sorry.
It's $7,000.
Perfect. Okay.
So I'll follow up with you with your letter, your criteria, and we can even chat on the phone if you have other questions. And
Okay.
of course, with MASC is an amazing resource for everything. So don't be shy. Partner with us. So
Absolutely. So thank you guys very much.
thank you. All right, time for 3 grants, everybody. Okay, so next up is the publishing agreement. Oh, hotel updates. We could do that first. Sorry.
So, since our last meeting, not a whole lot has changed. You know, we go as a team a little deeper into what's happening with the business transient, lack of volume, I guess, in our market right now. What we found is that there's a lot of very, very, very small accounts. So, you know, we're going after that, and that's to say that a lot of the Madison property, rooms, I know that some of the property they're buying, some of them too. But that's one thing that we've learned. We've been kind of waiting for the big whales to kind of come back to the table, start traveling again. The large accounts, they're just not doing it. But there are quite a few smaller businesses that are starting on the road. So, you know, that's from the transient side. From the group side, nothing's really changed. We're busting the scenes right now. Super busy. So that's great. What about you?
Yeah, transient, everybody's saying it. Year over year, that's went down. Yeah. Yep. I mean, Epic had planned on mandating,
Hold it back and
and they backed out of that. And
UGM blocks been pretty long, longest right now, so that's pretty good. The XGM block, the week 2 was pretty poor performing this year. So yeah, it's good to see UGM kind of fill up.
What about CrossFit?
CrossFit did well. You know, we didn't offer them a huge amount of rooms on peak. It was like 50, but they filled 45. So they were pretty well on our property with that. Yeah. Working on football for next year. That Alabama conference, so. Yes.
I might say I don't care about sports. But
Oh yeah.
there's certain things you gotta care a little bit about.
Otherwise, you're still working on recruiting and retention. You know, it's such a huge challenge right now for our industry. It's pretty much anywhere you live. I think.
it doesn't seem to matter the position.
No.
The top level management or the dishwasher.
Is there anything anybody else can do to help in that sector?
Connected with Lisa at the chamber and working through a few channels with her. You know, once school gets back up, I'm really going to spend some time over there. I think it's like lunches on Wednesdays. It's like a walk-in deal on Wednesdays where they wants to walk in.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll help. We're kind of hoping that that's the like what cracks the doors open. And when I got into the industry, I was a high school kid. 3 different high schools where the kids working at the hotel and you know, where travel is and recruiting for men versus trying to spend money on, you know, ads online, and all this other stuff. It's just, you know, you feel like you're throwing a line in the ocean. It's not going to catch you. So yeah, we need to get a few high school kids that got friends that want to work. And start jobs. Kind of works right now. We've done job fairs. I mean, it's just showing up for those.
Well, if you happen to be like courting somebody for a specific job and you're bringing them in from out of town,
Yeah.
reach out to Laura.
Yeah.
And we can put together like a welcome page
That'd be awesome.
to be like, so you're in Middleton, here are all the great things to do. Here's some little spec, you know, anything helps
Yeah.
when you're trying to compete with so many other destinations.
We'll be recruiting for an assistant general manager shortly, so we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've got a complex DOS coming in from out of state.
Well, seriously, yeah. So Laura, we'll get you everybody's business cards. because, I mean, we have stuff for things like that, things that we use for trade shows and whatnot. It can work for recruitment too.
Perfect. Awesome. That's it for I'm talking. Directors updates.
Oh, right. So first up, I'm going out of order, my own order for a little bit, but the Knight Turner agreement. So Knight Turner, we partnered with them for our 2022 and 2023 visitor guide. And I've actually already started talking to them about our 24. So this is the official agreement. Nothing has changed from the year before. It's $25,000 or less. I actually built in a little bit of a cushion in this one because I'd actually like to redo the downtown parking map again because we just did it last year, but I don't like it. It's really, when you look at it, it looks like the parking lot is so far from the railroad, so far from the library. The perspective is really off. So I built in a little cushion to hire somebody to do that. Hopefully somebody who's made maps. And then, but other than that, we aren't looking at a full redesign this year. I'm hoping to maybe do that next year. This year, we're just going to update everything, swap out photos, and there will be a little bit of a changeover. So a couple of the features, like right now we have a full written feature on Cavalry and a photo Mustard Museum. We're thinking of swapping that and making a cool full photo feature of Cavalry and doing a write-up of National Mustard Museum. Those two attractions face each other in the visitor guide. So I'd probably reach out to you because I've got a couple of ideas. Right now, the Mustard Museum photo is a really cool photo of a bunch of mustards, and then we talk about the personalities, and it's been well received. And so I'm thinking like a fun thing to do with beer. But otherwise, we're not reinventing the wheel on this. So, yep, just looking for everybody's approval. So I can take this to finance and common council tonight and get it approved, and we can officially be in business for our next visitor guide. I'm about a month behind on this.
Want to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Knight Turner. They're out of room.
Second. Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay, thank you so much. It'd be embarrassing if I had to go finance. All right. If you want to stop sharing your screen, I will share mine. So the last big thing left on the agenda tonight is to talk about our 2024 budget. So the 2024 budget is due to the city August 18th, which is 3 days after our August meeting, which we'll talk about as well, making sure that August 15th works for everybody. If not, we'll move it, because that will be we have to vote on the budget.
August when?
August 15th, I think it's that Tuesday.
Yeah.
And because for me, I have to wrap up the whole package and give it to the city on the 18th.
Sure.
So if the 15th isn't going to work for everybody, we just need to move it to any time before the 15th for the final budget review. And so I'm just going to go through everything real quick. This is not the version that I hand into the city. This is my working doc because I itemize everything. So if you're like, why is advertising that much? I can actually show you what we're spending it on. But this gives you an overview of what was granted in 2023 and what I'm asking for. And this gives you the difference on whether or not we're going up or down in that budget. So advertising, one of the reasons that it is going up this year is we're building in a $10,000 contingency fee for inflation and election. So 24 is an election year. So buying ad space on streamed media, which is what we replaced cable television with, it's going to go up. And it's very possible that even our regular social channels will cost more in order to get in front of people's eyes, because we'll be competing with election series. And so we asked our marketing agency to give us an idea of what they think that could cost. And they, of course, can't get any numbers out of anybody right now. They're all gonna wait probably. But she said that all of her contacts said to build in a specific percentage, which came out to just a little more than $10,000. And then also, I'm just gonna pull up marketing real quick. I increased our print ad budget by quite a bit. So this, and I broke this out for you so that you could see, because I thought that especially the hotel reps would like to see this. So when I'm looking at meeting planning ads for the meeting planner convention event services, this is Wisconsin meetings, this is Circle Wisconsin, Midwest meetings, etc. I'm upping it to about $30,000 next year. I'm looking at going to more full page ads or editorials. I'm looking at increasing our digital presence. Wisconsin meetings, I've already locked in that contract because I had to. So we're doing roughly the same thing. But I want to add in some digital ads for next year as well. I'm looking at Midwest meetings digital ads. I'm looking at the Wisconsin Housing WHLA, doing some digital ads with them. So I call it print ads, but it's print digital because a lot of these magazines, even if they have a print version, they have a digital version. And we haven't actually increased this budget in a very long time. And so I just thought if I've got you in front of me and you say yes, then these are some of my plans and I can go through some of those. And then I broke it out to what we spend on print leisure. And this is primarily for Travel Wisconsin. We upped it to a one-page editorial this year, which I don't know if you saw that, but we can show it to you. It looks beautiful. I just sent up a write-up and some photos and then they tweak it and make it look great. And it's sponsored content, but it looks like an actual ad. It looks like an actual story. So it's very different than having an ad. And then continuing on with their social media co-ops. And we partner with a whole bunch of other destinations in Wisconsin with Destination Wisconsin for an ad promo spot only cost me $500, but we were actually featured 2 or 3 times in that video. And then Experience Wisconsin is a new leisure magazine that Nye Turner is putting out, and they handle Wisconsin meetings and Midwest meetings. And it's an insert in the Chicago Tribune, but there's also a digital version that they promote online. And the ads aren't that expensive, and the magazine is I've been ignoring their emails for the last year, and then they finally sent me a magazine, and I immediately called them. So that's another ad that I would like to add. I'm keeping pop-up the same. We have a few extra expenses this year. Our tour bus piece, so this is when Laura goes to a trade show to promote us to tour bus operators and meeting planners. We have it's a double truck. It's a 2-page folded piece. We have to update that. It hasn't been updated in 2 years. It might not cost that much to update, but that was the quote that I got for a redesign. We also have a double-sided meeting planner flyer that we use that is kind of like everything a meeting planner might need to know from a top perspective. It needs a complete redesign. It hasn't been redesigned since before I started here 4 years ago. I just updated it with the new branding, but we need to replace content and everything on there. And this is new, meeting planner incentive flyer. This is something I want to actually create, not just for meeting planners, but for hotels, so that you have it and your sales team have it to show to people. This is an extension of the meeting planner incentive that we proposed last year. So if maybe you're not a business that is so large that you get a $5,000 grant, maybe you're at one of the smaller hotels that doesn't have a ballroom, but you qualify for having a board meeting luncheon sponsored, or a coffee break sponsored, or travel sponsored. And needing to put this in writing and get it in front of people, especially with turnover, we want to produce a piece like that. I have been meaning to do this myself for a year. I have finally decided I don't have time, and we're going to hire Belcher and get to put it together. I have all the info. I just haven't had any time whatsoever. These haven't changed at all. We're staying with the same photography budget as always. Strategic planning has not gone up. And these things in red are things that we'd like to do, but if we are told we need to slash our budget, this is where I would start. Every year we've produced at least one extra video, whether that was our website launch video or something like that. And so we just put in a little extra money in there for that. Sherpa is something we just started doing this year. It's content creation by people who don't work here. So we're partnering with 3 people. 3 different people who are coming here and creating 4 different itineraries each. And we get all of their video, their photo, and their content, and we can use it for however we like. So, and the biggest difference between this and an influencer is influencers will post once and you're hoping somebody sees it. We're getting all the content, it's being held on our website. Now, next year, if we don't want to do it, that's fine. We don't lose any of our content and we can actually go on there and create itineraries ourselves. It's just, it's actually pretty inexpensive content. And so that's why it was in there. Beloit has a welcome center, it's the travel welcome center, and I spoke to them this year. We traveled down there to look at it. They have signage opportunities, so you can purchase like basically poster size, right? And a lot of people aren't, and they weren't that expensive. And he quoted me about $1,000 for pretty much like July on. And so I was thinking, if we wanted to, we could create a poster for that. That is pretty much just advertising all of our summer destinations, attractions, and events that will be at the Welcome Center. And the Beloit Welcome Center is actually, they get a lot of traction. And then this map design is actually a rollover. We actually budgeted for it this year and never got it done. We were thinking about reaching out to the same designer who did our hub and spokes map, but do either a downtown map or a Pheasant Branch map. Just kind of increase, people love maps and they're still using it. And we wanted to start making ours all look consistent and still have that sort of artistic flair and use it not just in our visitor guide and our website, but have it printed out here for people to take with them. And so that's another thing that I have included on that. So that's where we are with the marketing. And that's why, I mean, half of this is because of the election year and inflation for digital and streamed ads. And then the other half for those other projects. And just I'm just going to go through this. If you guys have any questions or concerns, just start yelling them. And then I can look them up for you as well. I lowered the public relations budget because I just don't feel like we're going to need to spend that whole thing. The brochure, I'm keeping it the same. I budgeted $40,000 this year and we're not going to spend it. But next year I'd like to do a full redesign. So that's why I left that in there. Printing did go up a little because we're adding a few things, and website went down because we aren't doing website redesign. And so it's pretty much going back to its regular website administrative fees and domain fees and etc.
The marketing base, last year's out about a $7,000 increase in results.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking.
So it's yeah, everything.
Yeah.
So these are our separate account numbers. This is how it all works out in Middleton. And so that's what I wanted to, I grouped it in that way. Also, it's a lot easier when people ask me for a number, I know where to look. Because the account numbers, by the way, are not usually consecutive. So you're just kind of, so going forward, meals, I did bring this up. So we didn't have a clue what to budget for meals last year because it's our first year out of a pandemic and actually traveling again. And we are coming pretty darn close to spending that $1,600. This is for our conferences. This is, let's see, meals is conference and events that we attend. I do pay for one staff lunch around the holidays. I take the staff out for lunch. And then this year when we were trying to hire, I was taking for lunch, but it also comes under hospitality. So when we buy you guys coffee or lunch or snacks or something, it comes out of our budget. So I increased it just to be careful because I felt like we kind of came close this year. I had no idea what to expect. Last year was a guess. This one, supplies, we increased it by 800. We just go through more, and this was a guess last year too, because it was our first year of the pandemic. We had no idea how many paper towels and toilet paper and sink dispenser thingies and whatever we would go through. We had no idea, but we came really darn close. I feel like for not having any idea what it was going to cost to be reopened, we came very, very close. And I can open this up to, let's see here. So supplies, here's what that includes. So regular office supplies, everything from, you know, markers to pens to whatever. I did include this, and you might laugh, but you wouldn't believe how many times Laura has had to run down to the dollar store to buy cards for people. And we didn't have anything in the budget anywhere. We were just pulling it from wherever. Printer paper, cleaning supplies, kitchen supplies, paper products, ink, etc. And then this is something I had in our budget this year, and we didn't touch it. So we will have extra funds in our supplies budget this year as well. We bought 3 standard desks years ago. One died a year and a half ago. These other 2, Amy and I have, they purchased at the same time. We're just waiting for them to die, and we wanted to make sure that there was money. So again, I'm suggesting just putting that in there as a whole. If we don't need them, we won't touch it. But I didn't want to all of a sudden have to spend $600 on a standing desk and not know where I was going to get it from. And let's see here. Postage, Laura says we're doing fine on postage, so we think we can stay the same. Communications, this went up because IT let me know that it was going to go up. This includes Marco Technologies is how we have our phones. We have TDS. What else is under there? And then, I did put in a guess for what it would cost to get a cell phone. Department heads are supposed to have one. I haven't been talked into it yet because it drives me nuts to have to carry around 2, but I did put in a little bit there for a monthly fee for a cell phone. I think IT would provide the phone and we just have to pay the monthly fee, I think is how it works. But I might do it still. Building and grounds is staying the same. We think that we came very, very close last year. And we are going with an entirely different janitorial service going forward next year. We've ended our contract with our current service, and a new service will start in August. They are considerably more expensive, but it will still fit within our budget. And the problem that we were having was our current service they were only emptying trash. So we couldn't get them to do anything. Laura's been mopping floors. I've been doing that. So we went out and found another service. So, and we had many conversations with them, and we're just, it's done. We're done. Building maintenance project. So this is what we put in when we were doing renovations. So what this is, let me open that up. This is cool. We've been talking about expanding the visitor center, what we offer, making it more experiential. And some of that is going to be blowing up some historic photos, putting them on the wall, creating a historic timeline. If I design it, I figured out we can print it for super cheap online using the same company that has made our stickers. We want to do like some little stickers or train whistles and stuff for kids giveaways. We aren't expecting that to be big. The video, I'm guesstimating what that could be because I know at least half of the footage we already have. But I want to do like a historic / local video that people can play here in the visitor center, but it'll also be available on our website YouTube channel. History Timeline is the thing I was talking about. Wall mural, ever since we started the renovation, we were going to put Visit Middleton on the back wall above Laura's desk, but we ran out of money. This is a guess based on what I think we could do if we did a printout and had someone like, but if we wanted to do it painted, I don't know what that would be. And then the History Through Time thing, I can show you guys photos. This is something where either we could get an app or do the ones that I have seen are plexiglass. So what I'm thinking is that Stonehorse Green, either across the street or on the corner, when you're standing there and you're on this side of the plexiglass, you see an outline of what the train station and that part of downtown looked like, where Stonehorse Green was. Do you know what I'm talking about? You've seen them before? They do them a lot on historic ruins. But I think that there are also apps that could do it where you have a little sign, you scan a QR code and you show it up. It's not quite as cool, you can't take photos with it, But I would like to do something, like get something like that started in downtown. And if we did the apps, we could do more than one location eventually. It's something I'd just like permission to look into because I think they're so neat. The plexiglass, we would have to have somebody print that for us. But the ones that I have seen are very simplistic. They're basically a wooden frame. So you just have to get, the biggest part is having it mounted into the ground. So that's an idea. So that's kind of like what I don't know, sometimes I think that I can't function without another project. So rebranding is done, website is done. So this was the next thing. But we definitely, we took a tour of 4 different visitor centers in the area this summer. 2 of them are in depot stations. One is a state travel welcome center. And then the other was Janesville, mostly because we were in the area. But we were just looking at what do they do? What do we like about what they do? The train stations really lean into the history, and you can tell that that's something that people are looking for. And we know that when people walk in here, they kind of expect more. And the two displays, the historical society together are great. And people talk about them all the time. And then they look around and they're like, oh. So we definitely want to get some photos on the wall because we have pictures and they're up there. You can see them on your way out of what the ticket booth looked like originally. And we want to scan them and blow them up to like 3D big. And I've done that before. I have done historic photo restoration. And so I know how to do that part. And I've looked it up and I think that we can make 3 of them for about $600 through like something like Shutter. So my biggest thing will be finding the right scanner. So these are just kind of some ideas out there. And again, if you guys want anything taken off, if you think that something's a silly idea, please let me know. Again, we have to vote on this by August 15th, so don't wait until the 15th to make your opinions known. Chime in at any time. Training budget has gone up. Registration and membership fees went up so much this year. Organizations that weren't raising their fees during the pandemic, all of a sudden did. And so we just went through and figured out every single thing that we normally go to and came up with this. I did lower travel by a little bit. It's possible we could even lower it a little bit more. You think that travel would be super expensive, but a lot of what we're doing, we don't have to fly. And Laura is like genius at finding inexpensive flights. She's really good at it. Amy and I are going to a conference in Savannah in August, which, that's going to be a little more. But she found us incredible flights. So we aren't spending as much in the travel budget, which includes travel. So training is registration, membership fees, that kind of thing. And that includes membership fees to things like WMPI. So it's not just membership fees to a conference. And then travel is hotel costs, which have all gone up, which is good, right? For all of us, right? But also anything to do with flights, baggage, Ubers, etc. That runs under travel. And one of the major events that Laura normally attends is actually here in Wisconsin next year. So that cut down our travel by over $1,500 probably, having Civil View here in Wisconsin. Mileage, keeping it the same because we don't really spend that much. Utilities, keeping it the same. Research. So the reason I'm keeping this is because the $50,000 I asked for last year for the strategic plan, we didn't do. So actually, I have to ask finance how this works because I think I roll it over. So I don't actually think it comes specifically out of this budget. You roll it over from this current budget. But the reason strategic plan, I mean, as many of you know, the reason we didn't get onto that was in January was when the first court case for the city of Manitowoc versus the CBD in Manitowoc came out. And it was going to change the course of possibly of how DMOs within a city government run. And so we've been watching that. I didn't want to do strategic plan and then find out we had to actually create a strategic plan for something totally different. So we were waiting and waiting, and I've spoken to Jim about this several times too. And in May, another ruling came down on that. And then I actually last week just had a conversation with somebody about it. And I think that if this does ripple down to other municipalities, it'll still be several years out. So I would like to do a strategic plan next year that includes a compensation study, a full audit on our partnerships, which I've already begun doing the research on that, and organization. So by that, I mean, how are we operating in comparison to other DMOs that are municipalities and not municipalities? And if we were ever to have to change how we're doing some of our operations, how can we make that a seamless change? I think that some of this we will be doing in-house, so it might not cost us the full 50 anymore, because my initial plan was to give us a 3-year strategic plan on how we can bring more sports events to Middleton. And right now, I think we need to focus on how we're going to operate as an organization, given how everything will shake out in Manitowoc. And if you want more information on that, I'm happy to talk with you on offline. I just don't want to go on the record as being someone who's talking about another municipality as if I know everything. But I can share with you what I know offline. Software, we're going down considerably because we were hoping to have permitting software. And the city ended up investing in something. And so Laura is giving it a year or so to figure out how that works. Next year we might be adding something back in, but that's where we are.
On digital, at least.
At least that. Motor and fuel I brought down because I just checked and that Flex gets such amazing gas mileage, guys. I drove all the way to Green Bay, around Green Bay, and back on one tank in that Flex. And so we just haven't been using as much as I thought we were going to. Insurance, I actually don't touch that. Finance will increase or decrease that. That's not me. So partnership grants. So we're going to keep this the same because we didn't spend it. So we need to definitely go out and promote our grant program as much as possible because we didn't spend it, so I left it the same. Sports tourism, this is orange because we're renaming it. It was like MASC grant. Now it's sports tourism, which will be used toward MASC, but also in cases like if Gary wants to apply for, his $1,000 marketing grant, he can directly through us. Trade show fund is staying the same. Destination partnership. So this is highlighted because technically this is only $75,000. $50,000 of that is an account transfer for the CXD Center. And again, we and I can give you breakdowns. I believe I even brought those with me of how much we have spent so far. I think we've committed to about $98,000 in grants this year. We've committed to a lot of sponsorships. So $1,000 for this, and $1,000 for like Gilda's Run, and $1,000 for this and that. And I would like to try to. This will fall under the whole media player thing too, like trying to get the word out that we have these grants available for bigger events. I was just speaking with Jennifer from Kiva because 2 years ago they tried to do outdoor concerts there, and I saw her at a chamber event. I'm like, if you guys are thinking about bringing that back, that is a tourism event. You guys brought an actual named singer here, some country person, which I don't call them. But it brings out of towners, and let me know because we can give you a marketing fee for that. Because you would have overnight stays for a major event. She isn't sure if they have the bandwidth to do that right now because of all the building projects, but it's things like that to remind people of. City branding, not us sitting on a trail. We're not doing streets. We don't have that street banners. The Madison, so Destination Madison payments. Todd, we're definitely going to sit down and go through the binder. But because we are a city department, we aren't, the state doesn't recognize us as a certified DMO. So you have to pay into a certified DMO in order to operate and collect the tax. So we pay in, and that money is supposed to be the equivalent of what you would get back. So if you're giving them $100,000, they have to provide $100,000 worth of services or marketing for tourism marketing and development. So we have a contract with Destination Madison that they receive 17% of our currently. That's how it's done. And so this is the number that was allocated last year for 2023. I mean, I haven't even seen Q2, so I'm not sure what they're going to get at the end, but that's how our contract works out. So this number is actually something that I'll update once I speak with Bill about what our forecast looks like, which I'm trying to set up a meeting with him for the beginning of August, because by then I should have all Q2 results. Promotions, we haven't raised this in so many years, so we finally decided to. And this is all the promotional giveaways. These are event baskets, planner gifts. We're adding a small budget line for bus tour operators. If they contact Laura and let them know they're coming to town, we will give them a little bag of goodies. And because Laura and I sat down with Circle Wisconsin about how you track bus tour operators, and it's practically impossible. So we're just trying to come up with some ideas to motivate them to let us know that they're in town. So that's kind of where that is going. Let's see here. Contingency isn't changing. Legal fees. So this year we raised it from I think it was like $1,000. We raised it to $5,000. I've spent it, and we're not done with the year yet. And next year, because we're still working on trademarking. And next year we're going to continue with trademarking, but we also have our Destination Madison contract coming due at the end of the year, and we have there's another big contract coming due next year too, and all of that requires attorney fees. The fact that Belter and Lincoln didn't change a single thing with our agreement simplified matters for this year, but we've pretty much spent the whole $5,000. So I raised that a little bit just because we're still working on trademarking. We're not even done with the first logo, and we have the second logo to go. It is such a long process, and we get billed. We're doing federal trademark for our logo, and then we have to make a decision on whether or not we want to do it international as well, which is different paperwork. So,
I don't know why we were federal trade.
because there are a lot of Middleton,
So
and we don't want them using our same name or looking like it. Because we spent a lot of money.
So I mean, I get the logo, I guess, but visit Middleton. Visit Middleton.
You never know. So this part, everything under wages comes from finance. So I updated it per my last email. That's where we are. Our salaries collectively, all three of us, our salaries are going up by $5,000. So that's where we are. And then I wanted to show you this real quick. So for 2024, I just kind of was trying to give an idea. Actually, I could show you past budgets first. So in 2020, like the red lines are the years where we approved budgets knowing we'd have a deficit, that we'd have to go into our tourism fund balance. But these 2 years are the only 2 years that our spend actually exceeded our revenue. So, and obviously 2020 doesn't count. But 2022, we went into 2022 expecting a deficit, and we actually, we made money. 2023, we approved this budget expecting a deficit. But Q1 was higher than Q1 in 2022. And I don't know what Q2 is going to look like. I'm hoping that we're looking okay in Q2. So I'm not sure where we're going to sit on this. And remember, this still includes the 50 grand for CXC that actually already our tourism fund balance. So the overall budget, if we continue using the scenario of we forecasted using 2017 numbers, then if we approve the budget as is, we would be looking at a deficit of 93, not including the 50,000 for CXC. And that's if we spend every penny of our grants. And every penny of, everything elsewhere. From travel to training to everything that we're kind of guesstimating. But that's where we would be if we continue on using the 2017 numbers. And I'm giving you these just so that you can kind of understand, because in 2023, we used 2017. Because 2018 was a banner year for us, 2019 was a great year. 2017 was a really good year. And with 2022 performing as well as it did, the city was being pretty optimistic. But we knew going into this year that we could possibly have a deficit. And it's too early for me to give you a budget report to tell you where we're sitting, but I will hopefully in August be able to give you the full Q2 report, so you'll have the first half year. So that's where we're sitting there. Now, if 2024 is anything like 2022, we'd be making money. But I don't see our 23 or 24 being the same as 22. I feel like inflation affected 22 a lot. And we had the hockey tournament in town for 2 solid weeks in Q2 for 22. So,
Most markets are, they're all increasing. So I think we basically saw 2022 revenues. We'll have a larger 22K budget gain at the bottom.
so you think you think that 2022 would be an acceptable revenue to base my forecast on for 24?
I think more realistic than going back to 17.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be better. So it's going to be better than.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point, right?
We're up by, we're up.
So actually, I'm getting a report for the city tonight, and we're putting out our 22 numbers because our tourism economic report, which I gave you guys last month.
Yeah.
And there's such great numbers, but when I'm looking at them, I'm also thinking, well, there was inflation, there was a big event, and we actually opened 2 hotels, adding 193 rooms during the pandemic. So our numbers should have been even better. So there's definitely room to grow. And that's the next step, though, is how do we grow? Now, GF investing all that money into your 3 hotel properties and making them stunning, and the courtyards, outdoor space is absolutely gorgeous.
They didn't really touch that much. That's the goal.
But I see that as they're going to be even easier to sell. The one wonderful thing that we have in Middleton is that we have 9 free properties. We don't have a property, like when I talk to other directors or CEOs for other destinations in the state, and I'm like, well, how many properties do you have? And they're like, well, I have X, but only X that I send them to. And I hear that for quite a few destinations. And then they ask me, and I'm like, I literally give my friends the link to our lodging page and tell them any one of these will make you happy. It's, do you want a pool, or do you want to be able to, walk to whatever? So we are very lucky in that, if you ask me. So it's about how can we help you guys out? We're here for ideas. We need to get together with the GMs and have some meetings too. Like, how can we help you sell? Because there's definitely room to grow. I am super happy with our 22 numbers. I was not that optimistic. Nobody was. Our forecast was so low. And nationally, people were surprised at how much certain sectors rebounded at 22. But for us specifically, I know we can do better because some of that was inflation. Some of that isn't reflecting the fact we added 2 hotels.
You see some of the accounts for business travel were priced, lower in a sense during the rebound. Pricing season, you start seeing rate increases on these accounts.
Oh yeah, I just traveled across the country and stayed at hotels, and I was like, oh, we're back to that. I was missing the old $120 a night hotel room.
Exactly.
We're not there anymore.
But no, it's always nice to make it.
Okay, well, I'll let Bill know that you guys have suggested that 22 is a much more realistic.
Increase for inflation last year, or do you kind of have to absorb it?
Food prices for sure.
Yeah.
So we definitely.
That's why our conference fees have gone up.
Super expensive.
One of our annual conferences, the registration fee was $70 or more per person up.
Yeah.
And it was entirely due to the food. Because I knew the director, and he said, there's nothing I can do. We're hosting a conference at this place, and he's like, food expenses are so much more.
Another meal.
Mhm.
So that's why you saw membership fees.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's just membership organization or registration. So they're negotiating with hotels. We don't do. So put a stake on that plate for your price at 50% cost. So
Well, right now, just looking at some of the conference fees, because anything that's already open, you're trying to look ahead at, okay. If we went to that one, each of us are trying to choose one professional development a year. And keeping that as reasonable as possible, right? But the room blocks are all at least $200. And, but these are major cities where I'm like, that is still a good rate. But yeah, I mean, which is great for our industry. But it does mean my membership fees are going up, so we need to raise our training budget.
conversation anytime. Nobody wants to raise their registration fees, sacrifice attendance, right? Eventually something has to give and just make it happen. So
I told you what,
prices
though.
will come down as they have, and I'm sure that price of next night stick at pricing, but I guarantee you that registration.
Oh, no,
Which is
not,
great.
not
And
once you
that's-
get
that's
started.
what needed to happen. It really needed to happen. So,
Well, we all knew Pendulum had to start coming back down to the middle again at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That was always the goal for all of us.
Yeah.
And working in this industry, when I see that, I just feel a little bit more confident.
Yeah.
But not having come from hospitality, conferences in person are just, it's been so much nicer. And not just actually like, honestly, I have a really hard time holding my attention to a computer screen for 3+ hours. But actually the networking portion of it is 100 times better.
crucial.
And we've been able to make connections with people reaching out to talk about the visitor center like improvements. We did that tour with the tourism director for Rome. She's part-time and she's wonderful and she's working her butt off over there. And we asked her if she wanted to come along too, because she wanted to do some things there in their chamber office there. And but really got to know her kind of like sort of during the pandemic, but then at these conferences we'll end up sitting next to each other. And that part has been amazing. So I feel like during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, people kept saying hybrid was going to be just as strong as ever. It's not.
No.
Nobody loves it. It's nice if you have a staff of 15 and you only can afford to send 5. This is great as an option to give some other people an opportunity to attend, but nobody wants to be behind their computer screen.
That's right. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah, the hybrid option is so expensive.
It's like,
And nobody wanted to pay more to attend because you're at home with no
well, that's
computer.
how much can I charge you for it?
Yeah.
So they charge you less for it and paying a lot of money to get set up, so.
So Jose, I know that you always have good input on these things. I remember last year when we sent out the budget too. Do you have any questions or concerns about where we're at? 'Cause, I mean, I showed it right here. Where am I? We've increased the budget by about $40,000 this year. And we're still not technically at like full pre-pandemic numbers, I don't think. Where am I? Oh no, I take that back. I mean, 2019 was higher. But if anybody feels like I need to explain something a little bit better or give you some more breakdowns, please ask, because I've created all of these tabs, well, for me to track, because my 2023 one I've been updating every time I find out something's more expensive than it actually was. But we are trying to lock in contracts right now, so at least certain things like pest control, we'll know. And Laura's been, by the way, Laura has been doing all of that. She's been reaching out to janitorial services and everything. It has saved me days worth of time, so she needs some props. But yeah, does anybody have any questions before I hand this over to the city? Like, if you want to, do you want to vote to approve it right now, contingent on the city finance department? Do you want to sit and think about it? Do you want to add edits and then I can edit it for August 15th?
Already. That motion. Motion approved by 4.
contingent on finance.
Budget contingent on finance.
For a second,
Jose? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Questions?
I do have a question. Can you go back to, there was something that catch my eye on one, your previous screen on the marketing budget. There was like a video for 2 people for $20,000. Can you talk about that? What is that?
Oh, this, yes, okay. So we've been hiring Belcher and Lincoln to do our commercial work. So the first 2 years I was here, we did a 2-day video. A 2-day video and photo shoot, and it had like 5 or 6 people. It was very expensive. And then this year we're doing a 1-day shoot, and it's just going to have a photographer and a videographer. And I think Danielle is coming too, but I'm not sure if she's included. We got these estimates from Belcher and Lincoln. And so it's $19,575 for a 1-day shoot. We shoot all day. And it's photo and video. We get all the raw footage, but then they also clean up a huge amount of photos and send those to us in addition to. And then it's about $6,000 for a new 30-second video that we used for our stream media. So if you go to YouTube, you'll see that we've made one in 2022 and one in 2023. And the one that I'm looking at for 24 would probably be, we wouldn't actually create this until well into 24, because I would like to include and then $4,000 if we do a Bach Fest winter shoot, and that would be they come for a couple of hours to Bach Fest and a couple of hours to the cross country ski, so that we could get some winter photos and video footage. And that, I think, his name is Scott. I think he would probably be coming just by himself. And I haven't locked that in with them. It's just something that I've been talking about wanting to do. And if we can get some people on the cross country ski trails set up the same day as Bach Fest, then we could get a lot done in one day. And I sent a photographer to Bach Fest this year, and the photos are fine, but I would really like professional grade photos and video of that, because it's our only winter event and it's a really hilarious event. And when I tell people about it, it's just there's a lot of marketability there. And with cross country ski opening up, we have a chance to finally start advertising to a winter market, which I don't do at all, because there's just not a lot to do here. You know, we don't have snowmobiling, so we don't exist. You know, but I want to start like showing people a little bit more of what we do. But that's where that is, and that is for Belcher and Lincoln's costs. So that's the company that we've been working with, and we have a 1-day shoot with them this year.
so
Yeah, it's pretty much the same budget for this year, except the 4,000. That wasn't there. Because this year we have a 1-day shoot and we're doing 4 locations. It was going to be 5, but Stonehorse Green died. So we can't shoot at Stonehorse Green because all the grass is dead. So we're gonna do that next year. It's very sad.
So I'm sorry. So what kind of material you get for that $20,000? Like I know it's a full day of shooting, but what do you get in terms of material?
Okay, yeah. So, well, maybe not all. 90% or more of photography you see on social media, our website, and our visitor guide, and all of the photography and video that you see in our paid streamed media and digital media comes from these photo shoots. We used to do 2-day shoots with Filch and Barnett, which cost the same amount, but they also had quote unquote paid actors who weren't necessarily from Middleton. We try to always use Middleton people or people who work in Middleton, so that when people ask about it, we're like, we are very authentic. These are the people who live here. They volunteered to be in it. So yeah, that's kind of where that is. And right now we're trying to build up our library. Next year, I want to do Stonehorse Green, the pump track, and anything if the bike trails are done at CXC. And then I feel like there's a 4th one. And then after that, we probably could skip a year or two unless some new major development happens. Because then we'll finally be, because up until we started doing this, all of our photography of downtown, the businesses, the restaurants, some of them weren't even open anymore. Like the photos and videos we took at Hubbard 2 years ago, we've used in pretty much everything. They're in almost all of our commercials, because it's like, they're just great. It's just great content. But this is what we use rather than buying stock photography, or we could use user generated, but that's a different can of worms. You have to pay pretty expensive software to collect that, and then still reach out to ask for permissions. Sometimes you have to still buy it. I'm not saying it's not a possibility to look at some point. You wouldn't get video, but you can get photos. I know that there are destinations that rely heavily on research content.
Thank you. I was just wondering why it seems like a big amount for 2 people.
Yeah,
Day shot.
it's a lot of money. I know.
It is. Mhm. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
It would be a third less if we didn't do video, maybe.
Well,
Yeah, I know it's not. I know whenever I start talking about marketing numbers, people's eyes glaze over. It is so expensive. Roughly, if you hire a graphic designer these days, you're going to spend upwards of $150 to $300 an hour to have that person work on something for you. And same with video editing and whatnot. And that's what they do. We don't have a retainer fee with them, and so they figure out what they think it's going to cost in order to produce something, and then that's how we get our estimates. And they always either meet our estimate or come in under. So Belcher and Lincoln has never exceeded it before.
Motion on the table, contingent finance approval.
And if, by the way, if Bill doesn't agree and doesn't think that the forecast agreed, like these red things will be the first things that I cut.
Sure.
You know, like there are certain things in here that I'm like, well, those are the things that I'll cut. Because almost every single tab has something that I was either adding. And this is the contingency that I was talking about. So this doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend it or spend all of it, but she was thinking this year, this is exactly how much we've been spending for years, about 130 is how much we've been spending on stream meetings. I can't even add right now. There's something else in here. Oh, I'm forgetting this one too, April flight. That's part of that stream media too. These two are the exact same that we've been spending for years and years. We added this a year ago. We added this a year ago. I don't know why we weren't advertising in April before, because April is when all drive markets come back to life. And so we added that last year. And we'll have full media reports for everybody at the end of the year as well. Because that's kind of the fun part, is being able to watch how this is performing in comparison to 2022. Oh, and like social media, we didn't actually spend, I actually lowered this. It used to be it was over $13,000, and I lowered that this year. Because we weren't spending it. It's for in-house boosting, and we weren't spending $13,000 a year on giveaways and in-house boosting, so I lowered that. And hopefully MailChimp doesn't go up on me again. Since it seems to always raise.
We switched up.
What do you use? Constant Contact?
That would be, it's awesome. I love it.
Send
So
it to
easy
me.
use.
I don't mind MailChimp, but I feel it's very expensive. Okay.
Looks like it.
Did anybody else have any other questions about any of these buckets, specifically the ones where I'm raising it? I'm like, looking. Okay. Taylor lights.
Yeah. You've got my- But Mel,
Delegate the one.
super easy to use.
That's good. So we have a motion to approve contingent on finance, I'm gonna say forecast. Because that's pretty much what determines whether or not I'm allowed to ask.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
Awesome. Okay, before I let you guys go, I do just want to put this out there. August 15th is our next meeting. If it's a bad day or time for you, let me know in advance. We came very close to having to cancel this meeting today. So, because people had things popping up. And I appreciate so much that everybody made it work so that we could get through all of these things. So I just want to let you know, we don't have to meet at 4 p.m. on Tuesdays if it's really bad for people. We can meet at lunch, we can meet at whatever. So just let me know what works for you and we will change for everybody else.
I got enough people trying to take my lunch hour, so. But no, yeah, I appreciate that. 15's fine.
Okay.
Anything, a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, Jose.
Thank you. See you guys later.
And
Contingent approval, not really until